He's the host of the Move the Sticks podcast alongside Daniel Jeremiah, all over NFL media. It's Bucky Brooks, and he joins us here on the show. Bucky, good morning.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for joining us. Last night, the Pittsburgh Steelers delivering on that offensive promise that we had been waiting for all season long. Why was last night different for the Steelers?
I think for every team, it takes a little while to find the identity of your squad. And each year is always different, no matter how many players return. I think what we finally saw was the team understanding who it is, where the playmakers need to get the ball. And I think you saw Big Ben finally play like the quarterback that we're accustomed to seeing. He had kind of been on and off for most of the season, but last night we saw the on Big Ben. And when we see him playing at his best, that offense is nearly unstoppable.
Do you buy in the idea that there's been friction between him and Todd Haley?
I mean, it's always kind of, I don't want to say like a divisive relationship, or it can be kind of touchy with those guys because you have two guys that are strong personalities, two guys that are very, very emotional. So it's not surprising that they will have some friction. I think the big thing, Big Ben hadn't been playing very, very well, particularly when it comes to throwing the deep ball. And I think when you have a quarterback that hadn't been throwing the deep ball well, it kind of limits what you can call, and you're trying as a play caller to figure out how can I get him in his groove. Last night they found a way to get him in his groove. Some of those included deep passes, but a lot of it was intermediate and underneath stuff to allow his playmakers to do work.
We were discussing earlier in the morning whether the Steelers at their best are actually the best team in football. If every team played their A-plus game, are the Steelers the best team?
It's tough, and I think the only reason it's tough is because ultimately this league is a league of matchups, and typically and traditionally they haven't matched up very, very well against the New England Patriots. Some of it is due to Tom Brady being Tom Brady. Other parts are due to what the Patriots do when they spread you out and they force you to play in your empty check, be it man or zone. The Steelers have primarily played zone against that, and Tom Brady will just paper cut them to death. So on paper, I would say the Steelers are a superior squad. They have more what I would call blue-chip players than the Patriots. But until we see them and have visual evidence of them knocking off the Patriots, it's hard for me to say that they are the best team in the AFC.
Bucky Brooks, ex-NFL player, NFL analyst for NFL Media, NFL Network, and NFL.com, joins us here on the show, which brings us to the Tennessee Titans last night, trying to figure out that AFC South whether the Jaguars or the Titans have the leg up in that division. After watching last night, do you feel as though the Jaguars open things up to win that division?
The Jaguars would be the prohibitive favorite if they didn't have a quarterback that gives the ball away to the other team. If they had someone that you could count on and depend on to not turn it over outside of Blake Bortles, I would say that they would be the team that you could kind of pencil in as the champion. Right now, they've been able to play around the quarterback by having their defense play at a high level and by running the ball effectively. At some point down the stretch, though, teams are going to put the game on Blake Bortles' shoulders, and he's going to have to show that he can make enough plays to make them win. I want to say that the Jaguars are the favorite. The Jaguars should be the team that comes out of that division, but really it's a big question mark, and that question mark hinges on Blake Bortles' ability to play effectively from the pocket.
Patriots played in Denver last week. They'll play in Mexico City against the Raiders on Sunday. Do you think the Patriots have a competitive advantage because they just did this at altitude on Sunday?
I don't know if they have a competitive advantage. I think they have an advantage because they're a better team that's playing better right now. The big thing is which Oakland Raider team is going to show up. This is a team that many of us kind of expected to challenge the Patriots, but this season they haven't necessarily done it. Now, obviously, Derek Carr gets hurt, kind of changed the way they play a little bit. He comes back. He hasn't played at a level. And you got to get Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree to play at a high level. For them to win against the Patriots and for any team to really compete with the Patriots, you have to find a way to avoid beating yourself. I don't know if the Raiders can necessarily do it because their defense simply is not up to snuff.
Huge storyline which has developed over the last 2 weeks is Jerry Jones in a battle within those NFL walls against Roger Goodell. Do you find this detrimental to the health of the NFL when one of the most prominent owners is at odds with the commissioner?
I don't know if it's necessarily detrimental, maybe because it's playing out in public. I think in most businesses, sometimes you have friction, sometimes you have discord and disagreements. but guys are able to kind of work through that. Just because it's in a public forum and so many people know about their issues, so many things have been out there for public consumption, it has probably been a bigger story. I think at the end of the day, the brand of football will continue to be strong. I think the NFL will continue to be strong. I think eventually Roger Goodell and Jerry Jones will eventually solve whatever differences they have, and the league will go on about its merry way and continue to be successful and thrive.
Well, it's in the public because Jerry Jones is making it public. I mean, he's going on radio shows and openly, denouncing what his commissioner is doing. So that's got to be detrimental to the league, right?
Well, I mean, obviously it's not a great look when your owner comes out and kind of puts your commissioner on blast. Like, obviously you like to have those conversations conducted in a private arena and not necessarily out there for everyone. But look, this is who Jerry Jones is. He's always been a little loud and boisterous when it comes to all things that are his opinion. I think what you have is an owner who is growing increasingly frustrated by the prospect of not being able to get to the Super Bowl. And when you take one of his best players, arguably his best player, off the field, those odds diminish as we think about the year 2017, 2018. And so he was fighting for his player. It has kind of spilled out beyond that. I think at the end of the day, everything will go on, and we'll finally get a resolution between this debate between each party.
Bucky Brooks joins us from NFL Network. What's the more interesting NFC matchup in your mind this weekend? Rams-Vikings or Falcons-Seahawks?
I think Rams-Vikings is more compelling because I think you have two teams that you want to believe in because they play the right way and they look like they have the ingredients to be Super Bowl teams, but you're still waiting to see if the other shoe is going to drop. In L.A., you want to see if this offense can continue to play at this high level with a second-year player in Jared Goff, who has played outstanding, but there were some concerns about how good he was coming into the year. With the Vikings, you're trying to figure out when is the Case Keenum expiration date going to come. He's been a journeyman backup. He's been a guy that had a really solid performance last week, even though the Redskins dropped a couple picks where it could have been a more disastrous performance. He's played pretty well for the Vikings. When does he kind of come back to the median and play like the quarterback that he has always played? And how confident are you that Teddy Bridgewater is ready to take over at some point? I'm curious to see how that plays out because both quarterbacks are guys that you kind of are hoping for, but you just don't know if you can be completely sold on at this point.
Bucky Brooks, NFL Network analyst. You can follow him on Twitter at Bucky Brooks. He's the host of the Move the Sticks podcast along with Daniel Jeremiah. You read him at NFL.com. You see him on NFL Network. Bucky, it's really great to catch up, man. Thanks so much. Enjoy football this weekend.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on.
Bucky Brooks is our guest here on the DA Show on CBS Sports Radio.